gals, welcome to the season finale of season 2 of the Dr. Karin Show here at the Louder Side Network. I want to thank you so much, those of you that have my viewership has gone up and more people are finding us, and I'm just so thrilled, all of you that have been here and joined me on this part of the journey. We're going to keep going on the journey, but thank you so much for being here. Those of you that are just watching this episode, thank you so much for being here, but you've got to subscribe to this network. It is so amazing. We're only doing expansive things. We're growing. We're offering you so much inspiration that you cannot find anywhere else. So I just encourage you to subscribe because there's so much wealth of information here. It will just completely blow you away. I do want to announce that I'm going to be at Serenbe on Mother's Day this year for another Mother's Day relaxation weekend, and we're going to be inspiring women, and we're doing a retreat. That's the word I was looking for, a Mother's Day retreat at Serenbe with a bunch of other women, and it is just going to be other healers. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to talk to you about something I have not specifically addressed yet here on the show, but I'm trying to grease my wheels on the topic because I think that at least half of you have gone through it as well, and we're talking about the subject of divorce. And I just started a new journey of writing. Actually, I wrote a book on divorce about 10 years ago when I was going through my first one. I've had two. And it was something that I put away because I wasn't ready to really go there yet and talk about it. I wasn't totally healed yet. And it's not all I want to talk about because I have so much, those of you that watch me know, I have so much more to talk about. I love talking about transformation. I love talking about the spiritual journey and spiritual awakening and energy and all the stuff that you guys love. But, so much of my journey has been about, I have another book out called The Fatherless Daughter Project. You can find it on Amazon. And it has to do with this notion of repeating patterns. And, we agree to get into these relationships that tend to follow these old paradigms where we believe we have to be in pain and be in suffering. And we repeat cycles that we often learned when we were children. And, quite often that ends in miserable lives. It can end in physical sickness. It can end up in emotional distress and ultimately divorce. Or even worse, sometimes you stay in the relationship that is so unhealthy for you, and that's not a good ending either. So I want to talk to you about some decisions that I've made about divorce and getting through it, some things I did right, some things I did wrong. I've had two, and they've both looked very, very different. They've been divorces for different reasons, but I will tell you, this time I have really been trying to heal consciously from the pain, and in both instances, there was some victimization involved, and I was really victimized. There were everything from addiction to abuse to betrayal to deceit to money extortion. I mean, there was so much that went on, a lot of secrets, a lot of emotional abuse, some physical abuse, all mixed in there. And, a lot of that I experienced in my own home, my family of origin. And so I know spiritually our souls agree to relationships that we attract because we have a belief system in us that where we believe that we deserve certain dynamics, and so we attract them because our belief system is set up in a way that energetically attracts them. I am well aware of why I attracted certain people into my life, and it's not just my marriages. I've dated, and you can look back when you look at your relationship patterns. You will attract the same type of person until you have a breakthrough and you decide to do things differently, and you set up a new belief system inside of yourself that then changes things and sets up a new vibration, a new kind of energetic radio system that then will attract a new type of man or woman into your life based on what you now believe you deserve. So I'm going to try to help you to move on after divorce, move on consciously so that you can attract a person that lines up more with who you are. So it's about recreating yourself. And I love this. It's me creating yourself. Isn't that great? We're going to create you in a way that changes your vibration and where you're doing this consciously. Okay, so we're going to do this in 20 minutes, and we're going to use the acronym of the word MOVE ON, M-O-V-E-O-N. Okay, so I'm going to come up with I've got some steps that use those letters of those words to help you find your way consciously through this. I do want to give one caveat. Like, obviously, this is not like in 25 minutes a total recovery from divorce instruction episode because I know there are so many layers. I'm not going to be talking about issues related to the severity of abuse or addiction or dealing with narcissists, although I am going to do an episode on narcissists. I've decided I have way too much experience not to share my wisdom with you. Whew. So anyway, I'm not going to be addressing those deep issues. I'm just going to be giving you like a divorce 101. Let's move on consciously, a boost, a support for those of you that are in it. I'm going to be talking to you at the point of coming out of it. Okay. So the point when you really are ready to move on and you really and truly are ready to make the change, to learn to let go of those things that are holding you back, and you want to move forward into a new way of being. So we're going to talk about the M and move on. And the M is the word motive. Okay, so this is huge. This is a game changer all the way around in your life. When you get divorced or when you have a relationship breakup or anything, you start making decisions based on emotions, the emotions of what went wrong. Because if you're getting a divorce, if you've gotten divorced, something went wrong. Probably a lot went wrong for you to finally pull the trigger on getting divorced. And what happens then is we tend to make decisions based on our anger or our bitterness, and our emotions get in the way of what would be considered living more consciously. Okay, so I really want to have you check in with yourself on your motive when you make decisions. Okay, now I'm talking about posting on Facebook. I'm talking about making decisions of how much to talk about things, about how to respond to your ex when you're dealing with him in post divorce conversation. And here's the way you do it. We want to sit down and make sure that you are always leading with your heart. Now I want you to protect yourself. I want you to be wise. I want you to continue to stand your ground. I'm not talking about you. In no way do I ever want you to, agree to being further abused or being treated or victimized or being treated like a doormat or any of that. So mind you, in all of this, I know because I've been through it, I want you to stay strong. I want you to feel strong. But what we're doing is we're shifting the energy that you are giving off, because I want you to be the one that heals. This is going to be for you and your heart, not for the other person involved. You, and if you have children involved, for them, but primarily this is for you. So your motive is going to predict what type of response you're going to get from the decisions that you make. Okay, so if we can start using a motive that instead of using your ego to lead your motives, so when you're using your ego is super smart. Your ego is super strong. It can help you find your ground. But when you're using your ego to make decisions in response to your ex that are based on winning or getting them back, that is when we need to ask the ego to step to the side, and we're going to use your heart to make decisions. Now I'm talking about your heart for yourself, because I want you to make decisions that you're going to be happy with in the long term. Okay, so I want you to stop before you make any big decisions or even small ones, and you know what they are because you get a little confused when you're about to do them. So confusion is your spirit saying, wait a minute, let's just sit with this and ask yourself twice the same question. I'll use my name. Karin, why are you doing this? You're not going to get your truth at first. Stop and wait again and say to yourself, Karin, why are you doing this? Really think about what you want the outcome to be. And if you're doing it to shame, diminish, or in any way cause harm to another person, then your motive is not in a high vibrational place. Okay, it's coming from a place of contraction, because as we know, guilt and shame and revenge are all low vibrational situations, low vibrational emotions, and those are places that are going to guarantee that you're going to stay in a low vibration and whenever it's going to come back to you, and you're going to continue to attract people into your life that are going to bring an experience of revenge for you. And we don't want that for you anymore, okay? So we're going to look at things and come from a position of love. And the way that I find that is I stop and I say, okay, Karin, what are you going to feel really good about in 6 months? Like, what are you going to be really proud of that you did? So for instance, for me, I've had many opportunities where I could speak out, and you guys have it too. It's not specific to me, where you can maybe talk on and on about somebody, and you may have every right to, but when you stop and if you are coming from a low vibration and you're speaking negatively about the other person constantly, I know you know who you are. We've all done it in divorce. All your friends are rolling their eyes and tired of hearing the story. But I'm just telling you, the more you're doing that, the more you're expanding the energy over exactly what you don't want. So I want you to stop and say to yourself, what am I going to be really proud of in 6 months from now? And I know that later, whenever we're talking about things or posting things that are negative about somebody, later you look like you're giving your power up. You look like you're the weaker one, and you're drawing more. You'll have more people that are in alignment with that type of language and focus. You will draw them too. You can find 25 divorced people right now sitting down at the bar wanting to bitch and moan with you. They will come to you. If you stay in that vibration, they will all be attracted to you. But what you guys are going to do in your gaggle is you're going to expand the energy again around the negative cycle of things that you don't want to attract anymore in your life, but you're going to send out radio radio signals that are going to bring it right back to you. Okay. So your motive is super, super important. Listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you which direction to move in. When you lead with your heart, you're going to feel expanded and you're going to feel a very airy, fluid, hopeful energy around moving forward. When you feel contracted or heavy, or angry and regret, in a place of shame or guilt or revenge, that's your body telling you in a contracted way that that is a low vibration. We're staying away from there. Okay, we're going to move on. The O is to own your shit. Own your own stuff, okay? You know what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about going back and forgiving in a way that says, okay, it's all my fault and you're off the hook. I don't mean, this is not about the other person. I'm talking about you. You know you're in a place of transformation when you're ready to look back and just with you, maybe you and your therapist or you and your best friend, and just say, you know what, there were some things that I would like to grow upon and that I'd like to improve upon. I'm not saying that you're taking any shame or any guilt into your body or into your experience, because if you're going to go to a place where you then translate it into shame or regret or guilt, again, low vibration, okay? So we're not looking at owning your shit and making you feel bad. No, no, no. We're looking at this like, wow, I have an opportunity now to look back and own my place in those patterns. I'm not going to go back and sit in them. I'm going to see them as an observer. So I want you to see yourself sitting in today, moving towards tomorrow. You're in a car, you're driving in today, you're moving forward. And for a minute, you've put the car in park and you merely either look in your rearview mirror or you just turn around and look. We're not going to drive that direction. We're not going to keep staring in the mirror, but we're just going to observe the roadblocks and the swerves behind you where you may have misstepped and you may have patterns that you can correct. And I will tell you, when you're able to do this, you are completely undergoing a transformation, okay? Because you have found a way to transform the destruction of divorce into a place of transformation, and you can start looking at things that you don't want to attract anymore. So instead of dwelling on that, we recognize it, we see it, we observe that it was there. So maybe you don't want to get in a relationship anymore where you're fighting. So say that you engage in fights and you're part of it and you're getting heated and you may have every right to, but maybe you don't like the way you feel after that. So you want to attract a relationship that is fluid and fun and easy and where there's not fighting. So let's stop staring at the fighting. Let's stop talking about how much you fought. And instead, let's start using language that transitions the old shit into new shit, where you're saying, you know, I can't wait to find somebody, and just think about it for a minute, where it's easy, you know, and I'm not being challenged, but I'm being supported, and I want to support them, and there's an alignment and agreement of values, and we support and respect each other, and it feels so super good, and it feels loving and fun, and that is the way that you manifest the new relationship and the new feelings, okay? So we're going to look forward after we recognize the things that we want to grow. That's the O. The V is voice. I want you to own your voice. My guess, if you were like me, you may have lost your voice in the relationships. I did. I may be just projecting my experience on you, but I'm sure some of you are going to relate to this. You know, if you were in a dysfunctional relationship, there is a huge chance that you were kind of stifled, that you weren't allowed to share your opinion. Maybe you were being shouted over or controlled, or you were agreeing to something where you didn't speak up for your authentic truth, okay? So this transformation that you're going through is when you're going to start learning in a beautiful way. Again, we're not getting angry that we didn't get to use it before. If you need to work on that with a therapist, please do. I did for several years. You don't have to spend years doing it. But if you need to work through some of that resentment and some of that grief over not being your authentic self, please do. You do need to feel it to heal it. You don't need to sit in it and suffer. You can do it in a few sessions, but just go and just get it out. You know, sometimes you have to let things bleed, but when you find that you are able to, this is what's so great about going through these relationships, finding your voice, because the beautiful thing about failed relationships, I'll just say they're transitional relationships because they still exist. I don't see them as failed at all. So let's move that word off the table, but that's what society likes to call it. They're just transitions relationships. You know, relationships are eternal. They don't ever disappear. They just change form. So you're changing form, and through this transition, you're clarifying what you want. You're so much clearer now, right, than you were 10 years ago on what you want, because now you're like, oh, I don't want that. I want more of this. And you've grown as you've been married. You've grown in that relationship. If you're divorced, my guess is you didn't grow in the same direction, but you now can find your voice and your truth around your clarity on what you want. Keep talking about that stuff. Right now, like, I'm not dating anybody, and I'm totally in such a great place of peace about it. It took me a long time to get here, but I'm so fine, but I know that person is on their way, and I keep talking about that person in the sense that, like, I already know him. And so I say, you know what? He's going to be like so supportive of me. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to travel, and he's going to be smart, and he's going to be funny. And don't let anyone tell you it's not possible. You can create whatever you want. And I talk about how I feel, and when I sit down and meditate on it and I'm manifesting, I use my voice, my truth to tap into my emotions. And I'm like, gosh, when that happens, when it's ready and he's ready and I'm ready and we find each other in perfect alignment, I don't want him to show up before he's aligned. I don't want to show up before I'm aligned. I need to get rid of all my old stuff. I need to find my voice and my clarity. I need to check my motives. I need to do all the things on this list before I'm in alignment. And when I am, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be easy, and it's going to be so fluid and so fulfilling. And I'm just like thrilled about it. So I want you to find your voice as well as you're transitioning. Okay, so the E is such a great word, and it's a fun word, and it's escape, okay? So when you're going through this, my guess is, especially if you went through litigation, and if you did, my sympathies towards you. Litigation for me was honestly more painful than anything I went through in my divorce, especially my first one. It was extremely destructive. And if you've been through that, if you may still be going through it, I'm very, very sorry. I think it's one of the things that we're doing wrong in this country and this process, but I'm not going to get into that. But I do empathize with you, okay? Hang in there. Stick to your guns. It's not going to last forever. But if you're in it, or even if if you're out of it, I want you to find a way to escape it. We're going to leave it behind. And I want you to actually give yourself permission to have some escapes. And that means traveling. If you have the resources to go somewhere and actually get out of your state, that would be phenomenal. I'm giving you permission. I'm actually prescribing this for you because I'm a doctor. You've got to find a way to escape the energy of the old and get into something new and open yourself up to new experiences. You know, I will say, while you're escaping, a really good thing to do is clearing during this escape. You know, you want to let your body feel an escape from this old negativity and old pressure. And some of that may have to do with in your home, especially if you're still in the home you were in. Have your house cleared. Find a professional that does that. You know, get the energy cleared out. Do some wonderful rituals that help that energy escape from being blocked. I've had it done several times in my home. And, you know, you don't need to have someone come in. You can do it yourself, by the way, but it is really cool to have somebody that specializes come in and teach you how to do it, because they can often sense energy that you may be confused about, because sometimes we get blocked when we're in these situations and we can't see things for what they are. But I just had someone come and do another clearing, and she was so right on about finding the rooms that were still holding energy that we were clearing, and knowing where things were kind of stuck in the house. So that's great. And the house always feels lighter. You can burn sage, you can burn candles, and you just ask that the white light of God come in, and you push out any energies, entities, or beings that are not there to serve your highest good. And you call in then to replace it the energy that you want. And then you can like ring bells at that point. You can use a hawk feather to go around the house. And there's so much. Google it, look it up. There's all kinds of people that have put those rituals online. I love them. I think it really symbolizes and helps you to move on, because the ritual is about movement, and it's about honoring where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And it brings kind of a finality and a new beginning to the space. So I want you to escape. And as you're escaping and as you're letting old things escape, let your body feel a sense of escape. I know you've heard this, but it is so important. Move your body. Find a way. For me, stretching was super important during this period, because I could feel I had so much blocked up. So I started taking Pilates and yoga, and doing that stretching, I really felt like it really let energy escape from my body that was trapped, and it helped me to continue to bring a fluidity to my physical body, because you know you have a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, psychological. You have all these bodies that work together, and you have to keep them all fluid, because when you get those blocks in your chakra system or in your physical systems, it's going to affect your spiritual and emotional systems, okay? So make sure you're letting those things escape from your body as well by giving yourself movement and drinking a ton of water. Okay, the O, our second O, is offer compassion. Offer compassion. This is the biggest place where you're going to know that you are transformed, when you not only can own your shit, and you get to a place where you can actually offer compassion for the other person. I'm also actually mostly talking about for you. You have gotten to such a place of transformation where you're not leaning in so strongly to a place of blame and guilt and shame, and you've gotten through your litigation, and you've gotten through having to sit in that. When you can sit back, I've gotten to this place, and it feels so much better. The minute that it wasn't a minute, you know, I will say I had to go through something again this past year where I was treating my ex with a lot of, I had a lot of bad energy towards him because of some of the things that he did. And when he showed up, it was there. And so because my expectation was that he would still show up as this self that was his lower self, he would keep showing up that way, and we kept having the same fights. And so I had kind of an awakening. Something happened to me, and I decided I really needed to start offering compassion. That doesn't mean I need to go up and tell him everything you did was fine and I feel bad for you, or it actually had nothing to do with him. It was about me and the energy I was evoking, because again, when I sat in the energy that did not have any compassion in it, he would show up as the person that he was, that I have a really hard time, which is in such just not in alignment with me. But I kept repeating the pattern because I was increasing the energy when he would show up. And so I needed to own that I was also contributing to that dynamic. So what I decided to do was to sit back and to offer compassion. I didn't tell him this. I just shifted my energy. I just decided I was going to start looking him in the eye. I was going to start acknowledging that he was human. I was going to start treating him like he was human. I was never going to tell him that what he did was okay. I was still going to make sure he followed through with his obligations for retribution. But I shifted the way I expected him to show up. And I looked back, and this is a huge piece for all of us. Like, I want someone to understand, and this is why I'm writing a memoir now, because I want people to understand me, those that want this teaching to come forward, is that I've been through so much that informs me, but a lot of it had so much suffering in it. And when I look at him and other people that have hurt me in my life, the minute I can stop and say, have compassion, and realize that their need for vengeance on me, or their bitterness towards me, or their need to deceive me, or their need to do whatever behavior they're acting out, actually comes from a place of great suffering. It comes from a place of great insecurity. It's probably stemming from something that happened to them in the dynamic of their home of origin. Maybe they didn't get enough love from their mother or their father. Maybe they were abused. Maybe they were stolen from. Maybe whatever it is, like when you can get to a place where you can step back, again, just with you in your prayer time, and say, and if you feel led to say something to them, by all means, you need to follow your heart. I'm just talking about for you, when you can shift your vibration to a place of compassion and expect the person to show up differently, and have a heart that is soft and not hard, leading with your heart, like I always say on the show. Again, this is for you and your well-being. I promise you, we have had such a change since I did that. I mean, now the relationship is so entirely different. And it's not only good for me, but it's really, really great for my kids. They have seen the shift. I haven't explained anything to anybody. I just sit down and really decide that I'm going to expect this to be a compassionate exchange. Now, I still hold him accountable. I still don't engage in the old bickering that we used to do. I still use like the boundaries I talk about in some of my other episodes. I still use those techniques with him. I don't engage. But when he shows up and I need to be face to face, I have compassion, because I know that his behavior came from a place of great pain. Okay. But again, his vibration, his alignment, his belief about the world and his experience is up to him. That is his responsibility, not mine. Okay. You're not here to save anybody, but you can be compassionate and shift your energy, because it's so great. Once you soften and you come from a place leading with your heart, you're setting yourself up so much. And I don't want this to be your intention. I just want to add this in. You are setting yourself up so much to attract the partner that you really desire, because you desire someone that's compassionate with you, right? Like I do that. I haven't had that in a serious relationship where I have had an experience with a man that is totally compassionate towards me, that has empathy towards me, that understands when maybe I'm not acting in my highest self, or understands that I have a history that maybe brings up pain and where I need compassion. Like I want compassion. So I'm in a space now, and I'm not always there, but when I'm in my best self, I'm offering compassion. And so when I'm doing that, I am sending that energy out into the universe that says, compassionate people apply here. And you'll be doing it too. And then you're going to attract that back into your life. And that's awesome. You're a powerful creator. You're going to create what's going to happen next. The last and final one is the N. Move on. The N is new. New you. And here's what's so amazing. I am just so excited for you to start using new language around the new you. And that is so much about what I've been talking about. It's shifting energy. So the new you is going to use new language. We're not going to sit and complain about all the negative things that we didn't like, all the reasons that you've been wronged, all the things that you hate. Because again, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it took me a long time to get it. So I'm going to say this to you over and over again. Once you start creating a new way of speaking, a new way of behaving, a new way of believing, you are creating a new life, and you are going to attract the life that you want into your life. So you're going to let go of language that is old. You're going to let go of sitting in those circles, drinking wine with your friends, and I have so many friends that I've done that with in the past, and we sit and we speak about victimization, okay? So when you're talking about the victimization of your divorce, again, let me just give it the caveat. If you're still in a place of victimization and feeling pain over it and you're not done healing, please see a therapist or a life coach. Please do it. Do that kind of work. And I hate to call it work. Do that kind of healing. It's not work. It's healing. You've got to get rid of the blocks to be able to flow. So if you are still trapped, there may be some inner child work you need to do. And you know what? It's beautiful. I did some post-trauma work. I did some EMDR. I did inner child work. I did all kinds of beautiful therapy. It's why I became a therapist. I learned so much through it. So I do want to encourage you, if you're feeling stuck, it doesn't have to take that long. I don't want you to take very long. I would commit to 8 sessions. They show that change usually happens around 8 to 10 sessions. Commit to 10 sessions, okay? You can do that in a period of 3 months. You can do it in a period of a few weeks. You can do it over a year. Just commit to it and do it. But then here's what's great. Then you allow room for this new you. Actually, not even allow room. As you're doing that, you're creating the room. You're shifting things. You're getting rid of the old blocks. You're getting rid of the old patterns, and you're changing. You're creating change. You're there having a support of somebody that's solely focused on you. And then when you're able to do it on your own, and actually, you don't ever have to do it on your own. I still have a counselor that I work with every week, and it's my favorite time. Every 2 weeks. It's my favorite time. I get to sit and talk through the things that are bothering me, the things I need support on. We celebrate things, and I love it. And the new you is going to start focusing on what she or he wants, things that you want to have in your life. You're going to start attracting people into your life that align more with what direction you're going. That's also going to mean that the people that don't align with you anymore are going to probably drop off, okay? They're so used to sitting, and I have friends that do this. They're so used to sitting and bitching and complaining about their exes. I don't do that anymore. I may do it for a minute if I'm frustrated about something that's happening, but I will not sit for longer than a couple of minutes in that situation, because I know what I'm doing is I've just turned up the volume around the likelihood that I'm going to start re-engaging with my ex. I've just turned up the volume of the radio signal I'm sending out that says, I'm focusing on this universe. That means that you must, even though I'm saying no to it, all the universe sees is energy. So the energy I'm spitting out is negative, bad, victimized. And it's like, oh, let's find somebody else. She obviously hasn't worked through that yet because she can't let it go. And another lesson comes in. I don't know about you, but I am tired of the lessons. I want to continue to grow. Divorce is one of the biggest lessons and growth plates that you can imagine. Decide that you're going to believe in transformation. Decide that you're going to let go of clinging to victimization, and make transformation your guide. Make change your guide. Talk about all the fun and wonderful things that are coming your way. And I guarantee you, if this is happening in my life, it will happen in yours. I wish you so much love and compassion and momentum towards beautiful things if you're going through this process. And I just encourage you to tap into this new you and tap into this higher consciousness and use this as such a beautiful place of transformation for the new you that's emerging. Thanks so much for being at this episode, viewing this episode with me. I just want to remind you, as I talked about during this whole teaching, that if you lead with your heart, you're always going in the right direction. See you next season, guys.